You. Are you a felon? Got community service? Isupk can help you with that. For sure. Come on down to 12355 Gresham. We can help you all with your community service and your felony expungement, man. Isupk Detroit. Google it.
Isupk Detroit presents under Command and General Yohana. Isupk Detroit Community Service. If you're on probation or have a felony, you can fulfill your community service hours here at 12355 Gratiot Avenue, Detroit, Michigan. We offer expungement services for most felonies. We also do food drives, counseling, and health fairs. For more information, call 810-392-3261. Again, call 810-392-3261.
Mic check, mic check. Shalom, Lord Christ, Israel's Officer Qadash with Isupk, and of course, we're out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Command and General Yohana. Of course, this is your Friday Lashawan Qadash class. Every Friday from 7 to 9. Of course, I'm going to get right into it. Start off with is the alphabet. Of course, the more or easier or readily identifiable you can write, read, and recite alphabet, manuscript, Bible app, or pick up a tool. So let's get the alphabet on the board started off, and what I'm gonna do is write out just the characters, write out the tags that after you write, we start from opposite end. Sometimes you might try to make that note. But stop and say, why are we fighting? why this is it something? I literally do have to hold. Guess I'm gonna have to start rapping my skills up. Can you hear me now? Is it better? Can you hear me now? Do I sound like Barry White? Is it good? Is it clear? Do I gotta keep my mic right here. Good. All right, so this is where we at, Israel. We're starting right here. I gotta have the rapper hold on the mic. So, while I was monologuing, go ahead, get those down real quick. Write the pronunciations down. Write how it sounds down. I would say start at the thigh. I'm gonna give you one and work backwards. See how fast you can get it down. I'm gonna give you a head start. I'm gonna count to 10 in my head, and then I'm gonna catch up to you. Ready, set, go. I guess that wasn't 10 seconds. Those letters and put flip side. We're gonna write underneath. Rather, go ahead and put down the Assyrian and the Hebrew. Now, of course, if I could turn the camera around, um, Officer Laban did this excellent script of the Lashawan Qadash board, and I feel like that handwriting is absolutely wonderful. Like that's why I try to pattern mines off of, but since my penmanship isn't that good at all, I kind of do it how I see it on most apps. And because I see it on most apps a certain way, I figure I'll pattern it that way as well. Because if that's where I'm going to be reading or how I'm going to be reading, I might as well get comfortable with that look of the script. But as you see, you say it looks like that. And then you have some script kind of looks like this. See at the top, that's one script, and then down here it says whose handwriting it is. Mindful or be able to readily identify the different types of script. It's the same word, same pronunciation, same letter or whatnot, but it might look a little different depending on who wrote it. So just be mindful of that. So let's start off with the alphabet, of course. Now the I in the Assyrian, I've seen it kind of just look like an X a lot of the times, but it has a little fancy thing at the top that helps me differentiate it from another one. And of course, we'll highlight the endings of the qua to za, the na, the ma, and the ka. That's something that kind of threw me off until I repaid attention to what was written on our cheat sheet already. It clearly says so at the end of that letter or character is going to be drawn or wrote differently, but sound the same, mean the same. Uh, Because the letters are like I want to say a different shape. I'm kind of not spacing them as I spaced them above. I can get a lot more line because type of script it is. Um, so don't think that this Yah lines up with the tie. That's all. Oh, 4 letters. Don't worry, my helpmeet would have caught it. It was just a lag. That's all it was. Didn't get to the part in the video. All right, so starting from the right, of course, in Hebrew you read on right to left, not left to right. Got your ah, your ba, your ga, your da, your ha. Now, write it out. Make it real. The spacing wasn't too far off. I feel like I was just shifting one. As you see, it is the same pronunciation. You have your abad gada ha waza ka ta ya ka la ma na sa I pa ta za kwa ra sha and tha. Now the Assyrian endings, I'll try to fit them in this corner right here. Move out the way. So why like this also be at the end of a word. So it appears at the end of the word saying qua. Don't look around and try to find a new letter or try to say, oh, it must be the I and it's just flipped backwards because it looks like a Y or something like that. No, it's completely different. It's a completely different character look, but it's the same letter. So the next one is the Tazab, which is kind of the same thing, as in It's a Y. Looks like a Y. Kept you. Like the little start playing hangman, start hanging somebody. That's what it looks. Have your ah ah, and it might look like that. Which looks ah. Would be similar to Ra. Sort of stand out a little bit. Period endings. At the end of a word, you'll see the characters look different but sound the same. So they'll look like what it is written in the blue, but it'll sound the same as it will be normally written in the red. So I give you a minute to copy that down. If you have any questions, go ahead and put it in the chat. If not, go ahead and move forward. Thank you, baby. She reminded me that I need to hold the mic. So even though you have some people that's called French or Australian, European, Ukrainian, Russian, Switzerland, or Switzerland people, Swiss people, yeah, Finland, uh, British, Spaniards, like all of these different names of these quote unquote types of people or races of people, they're all one people. All of those that I just named, those are all children of Esau, children of Edom, or Idumeans. So don't let that fool you. I mean, we've seen a culture move from region to region, place to place. Clearly, you know that Christopher Columbus came over here and claimed that they were the first one over here. But it was the people over here, but that's long story short. They set up shop over here. We know exactly where they came from. But today they call themselves Americans. So is American a new nation of people now? Or is it the same race of people that's been on this earth that just assumed a different name? That makes common sense. Simple sense. know that they came over there from European areas, that side of the world. They claim it, they know it, they say it. It's in their history book. But now today, we're called Americans. And then you have some of us who are called African Americans. So it's like tomorrow another race of people can be started off, or another name for a race of people can be created that doesn't add the number of people or number of races that are actually on this earth. So for all of you that hold true to the Bible mentions 18 nations. If I'm not mistaken, you can get all of them, or a lot of them, in Psalms 83. But real quick, if you read Genesis chapter 10, chapter 19, 30 through 38, and then chapter 25, verses 21 through 30, you'll get that all of these nations came from from Noah and his 3 sons. That's another thing that you have to consider. At one point, the whole earth was flooded. Noah and his 3 sons, Noah's wife and his 3 sons' wife were the only ones that made it. Those 8 people made it. So out of those 8 people, repopulated the earth. So how do you get all of those different forms of pink people, or Idumeans, or whatever they want to call themselves, Caucasians? Can we say Caucasians on YouTube? All right, let's start it off. 18 nations. India. Try to write this kind. Elam. Announced. I, Alum. And of course, it is written out as. Should I write that in another couple? Keep it in red. Let's change it. I. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put them in the ancient Hebrew. This style of script. And what I want you to do is convert it over to Assyrian Hebrew. Salakia. Convert it over to the Assyrian Hebrew. Didn't hear me. It's going to kind of get a little used to, but don't worry about it. I'm going to get it together. So this is what it should look like in the Assyrian Hebrew. This is what it should look like. And all you're going to do is just match it up. So you have your I, you look over there and be like, oh, what is the I in the Assyrian, which is simply Y looking. Yeah, kind of looks like a what are those things called? Apostrophe. Yeah. See, teamwork make the dream work. And your la, and then the ma. That's what it is in this. I write the next one. All I'm gonna do is write all of the lines down. One line. I'm not gonna write it in the Assyrian. You're gonna do that. And if you get stuck, ask for help. I don't know. I'm gonna hear you. Put it in the chat. So So let's get this off the board. Next, we have Assyria. Don't get it twisted. All of these people, don't feel type of way for them. All of these people live deliciously off of the backs of your ancestors. And of course, what the scripture says, when the righteous are in authority, the world rejoices. Of course, the flip side of that, wicked rule. Don't think our rulership is similar to theirs. We're going to rule in righteousness. Our judgments are going to be righteous. So when you see Yahushua come down on the chariots and start knocking people's heads off, that's going to be a righteous judgment. That's not going to be unrighteous. You shouldn't feel like, oh, why did he do that? I thought he was all love. Oh no, what do we do now? No, don't do that. What you should do is just remember the scripture that says he will knock your head off, paraphrasing, for disobeying those laws that he told you to keep. And I'm going to pull one up because a lot of people don't understand how serious these are. Matter of fact, I should have my help me. Can you put in Google and Google for me in the garden behind one tree, KJV? So what I just did was think of something that was in that verse. So if there's a verse in your head that you can't necessarily remember, and she pulls something for me, Isaiah 66 and 17. That sounds right. That sounds about right. So sometimes you might not be able to recall a whole verse. Google it. Google what you know of it. And because we made Google is not smarter than us, it will aid you in picking out that address. And what you do is just read it. Read what you got and see if it was what you were thinking about. And a lot of times it'll be right. So what was that? Isaiah 66 and 10. Let's see. Up 66 and 17. All right, we're going to go up one. Nope, two. We're going to start at verse 15 for people. Isaiah chapter 66 and 15. For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind. Now, we know what his chariots are. Unfortunately, the masses around the world doesn't know. They call them UFOs, unidentified flying objects. The ones who know in the world, they know. Like your oppressor, they know whose chariots they are. They've been talking about those chariots and drawing them in paintings for decades, centuries. They know that Yahweh Shai is going to come back to deliver us. They know that. That's why they created Space Force. They've never had a viable space threat ever. They're willing to invest almost probably yearly like $21 billion in this Space Force to fight against your power, your salvation, to stop you being free. But let's keep going. For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury. And for all of those people who keep saying God is all love, clearly it says to render his anger with fury. and his rebuke with flames of fire. So he's carrying out his rebuke with flames of fire. Verse 16. For by fire and by his sword the Lord will plead with all flesh. Now we got to pay attention to what's going to happen in this valley of Jehoshaphat. We definitely have to pay attention to what's going to happen down there, because the Most High is going to do some pleading with these armies and these nations around the world. Definitely do some pleading. And he's telling us right now how and what he does his pleading with. It says, for by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh. What do you think that fire is going to be? You know, the world's been talking about that nuclear destruction. You know, the Bible talks about that nuclear destruction as well. If you could, babe, could you look up fervent heat or melt the elements? KJV. So we have to pay attention to how he pleads with all flesh. But the verse goes on to say, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. Yeah, 2 Peter 3 and 10. If you look up 2 Peter 3 and 10, you can read it on your own time. That talks about that destruction, which is a fervent heat that will melt the elements away. And I believe it was like a verse in the Bible that talks about, it might be in the same chapter, to how the body is going to be standing, and like the eyes and the tongue is going to melt out of its holes before the body falls. So yeah, Google eyes and tongue melt out of holes KJV or something like that. Let's test Google. We got to get Siri in here, like, so I can be like, Siri, yo, my Jeremiah Mahayim, and you know, or got Alexa. One of them females gonna get. I'm sorry, baby. You got me. Yeah, that sounds about right. Zechariah 14 and 12. So it says, and this shall be a plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people with that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. Y'all better stop playing with the Most High. That sounds wicked. I don't want no parts of it. But let's keep going. And it says, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. So that was verse 16. I'll read it again. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slaying of the Lord shall be many. Verse 17. Why is the question? Let's see what it says. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh. For y'all that don't know, swine is pig, and the abomination. So anything that the Most High deemed abominable, that's what it is. And the mouse, like the scripture is very clear. So when you look at all of those Survivor shows and all of those Fear Factor shows and all of those post-apocalyptic shows where they have to scrounge for resources, and you see those movies where people are so hungry, like, oh, I'm so hungry, I'm going to catch this mouse and I'm going to eat it and it's going to be so good. Guess what? Let the Most High find out that you did that. He's not going to be like, oh, you haven't eaten in a couple days, and that's why you did it, or you haven't eaten a day. It's been 24 hours since you had any food, and you decided to eat a mouse. Catch and eat a mouse. He's going to knock your head off. Guess what? We got a Day of Atonement for us. That's why we practice or we keep the laws of God in the holy days, because it's for a reason. we afflict our souls. So when we come across that temptation, I can go back in my head and be like, you know what, last year or this year when I did the Day of Atonement, I didn't eat anything and I didn't drink anything for 24 hours. So me being at work right now, somebody offered me a slice of pizza. It got pork on it. And I'm like, oh, I'm so hungry. I haven't ate all day. Oh. You know what? I'm going to be all right. I'm not even going to do that. I'm going to look at it and be like, nah, I'm good. I'll wait. If I'm broke, I'll probably do the same thing. Well, I will do the same thing. I'm not going to buy something that's God told me it's abominable to eat just because it's cheap. You know what? I'll wait. Even if I don't have the money and somebody bought me, like, hey man, here go a ham sandwich. You look kind of famished. Nah, I'm good. I'm straight. But anyway, we're going to keep going. Shall be consumed together, saith the Lord. So all together, 15 through 17. For behold, the Lord will come with fire and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. Of course, if you don't know the slain of the Lord, slaying means killing. That's when I say he's going to knock your head off. That's what I'm talking about. It says it shall be many. Verse 17, they that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the garden behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh and the abomination, and the mouth shall be consumed together, saith the Lord. So, I suggest you follow the laws. It's not that hard. Keep the commandments. So, next one on the list. Sorry, I got a little sidetracked. Syria. That name pops up a lot. Also known as Aram. Pronounced almost like it's written Aram. There you have it. Next we have up the Arabs. I remember back in the day, we used to call them Arabs. And people got sensitive. Like they're not called Arabs. Like, oh, it's pronounced this. I don't really care how it's pronounced. But those guys are the Ishmaelites. They come from Ishmael. Major players in end times. In the Hebrew, it's pronounced Yesha Ma'ala Mi'ala Salakia. Yesha Ma'ala. Next, after that, we have the Chinese, Moab. Are also major players. Moab. Anybody know who Moab comes from? Or why they look the way they look? I don't know. I feel some type of way today. I feel like talking S today. My Lord would say. I feel like talking my S. Guess what, YouTube? There's nothing you can do about it. Since we're the salt of the earth, you can try your little bans and stuff, all your little rules and regulations, your little red flags. We'll play the game. Guess what? We'll make it hot. Because we're the salt of the earth. You ain't know? Moab is pronounced Mawa'aba. Got Ma. Got your Wa. Ah. Ba. Ba look like. Next up, we have the Japanese. The next class, we are going to go into why Chinese and Chinese and Japanese, why they look the way they look. We're going to pull out some resources and see if I'm just talking S or not. And Ammon in Hebrew is Imawan. Got your I. Oh, wrong. I. And then the last one I'm gonna put on this before I erase and go to the next set is the so-called pink people. See YouTube? You thought I was gonna say white. Dang. I thought that was funny. I wonder if they can ban it if you write it. Okay, see? Well, I don't want to just put me on something. It's a voice activated algorithm. So it means they ain't hip. They don't have like facial recognition through YouTube yet. Maybe not in masses. Or they care about it yet. So I can write the S that I want to talk. I can talk S if I write it out, right? I can cuss them out via. I don't want to get checked by the. Edom, just Esau. And just to give you a little bit of information and history about Esau, I'm going to take you to places Genesis 25 and I believe 25 or 26. Let's see. Yeah, 25 and 25. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. So, this child that was just born came out red and hairy. The next child, well, verse 26, and after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob, and Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. So, what that is saying, notice what happened. Esau was described as red and hairy. Now we know from other texts that everybody at that time were dark-skinned people. Like, I don't even think that's something that a Caucasian honestly would argue. Like, let's stop playing. But they only described the first one because the second one, which they didn't describe, came out like everybody else came out, melanated. That's all that was. And the uniqueness of Esau, red and hairy all over, was for a purpose. To identify an individual on this earth. And that look isn't just the identifying marker. It's their character, their actions that does it mainly. Because you can have some people who look black and aren't black. Some people who look white and are black. So let's go ahead and get Obadiah. So I can tell you what is going to befall Edom. Now, Obadiah is one chapter, and it's very interesting how the Christian church or people who claim to be a part of the Christian church, they don't touch this book at all. And the ones that do, they have this story, try to say this has already happened. Just as a side note, I was on one at work last night. If I had to judge a book by its cover, this guy definitely seemed like he was an African, like he was a Hamite. And he had on an old, like one of them 1970s like suits, like beige suits. Looked like he was fresh to death, but he had the little priest collar on and a little button pin that had a cross on it. And he's trying to ask me how to get to the ticketing lane or whatnot, blah, blah, blah. I'm down in GTC. And I look and I was like, oh, you a pastor? While he's asking that question, he looks down and he looks at me. He's like, and he tries to fly out and he's speaking English. And I'm asking him simple questions. Are you a pastor? Oh, you teach the Bible? You a preacher? And he's just smiling. And I didn't understand. Like, why is he just blowing me off when I'm asking him about the Bible? Anyway, I end up being on the elevator with him. And I asked him, I was like, you about to go on a mission to teach the word? He said, yeah. So obviously he understood what I was saying. So I asked him, hey, can you teach me something about the Bible? And he said, nah. And this old Edomite or Idumean, this old pink person, she looked like she was every bit of 80 something years old. She looked at the necklace I had on and said, oh, that is a wonderful necklace. It's beautiful. Oh, is that a part of your... And when she said that, it dawned on me. And the scripture popped in the head. The devil flees when no man pursues. And I thought about it. He looked at my necklace, my gun that would die, the shield of David, and said, I didn't want no smoke. Cause I wanted the smoke that day, and I'm gonna actually just put this out there. So I don't think I want Jehovah's Witnesses in my hood no more. They can't set up shop. So there's these two corners that I think I'm gonna go engage with them, and it's every time it's gonna be on site, as polite as possible, until they say, you know what? I don't want the individuals that goes in and out of this grocery store, this Family Dollar. We're going to leave these people alone and we're going to go to the next territory. That's what I'm on moving forward. They shouldn't be comfortable spreading lies to my people. I shouldn't let them be comfortable. And I'm not saying that I'm about to go out there and make them feel uncomfortable by doing something inappropriate or rude. No, we're just gonna dialogue about the Bible. We're just gonna let that stand where it is. Between the Esau and the Hebrew is Adawam. Don't get it confused with Adawan. Hell no. It's Adawam or cracker. One or the other. Right, that I, da, and of course the Y and the Ma is connected to make the WAM. So I'm gonna give you a minute. Write those down before I erase them and move on next. And if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe your videos. It supports and helps our algorithm, the message get out there. It tells the algorithm, yo, this is interesting to more than one person. More than one person to see this. Let's share it in other people's feeds. You know how like when you get stuff that you don't really care for seeing? Yeah. Yeah. But this is something important. This is truth. This is the word of the Most High. So let's get that word out there. Like, share, and subscribe. Of course, if you have any comments, go ahead and throw it in the chat. So I realize I've been kind of monologuing a little bit. Which is good sometimes. Due to the time, I don't know if I'm going to finish all 18 nations. Because I do want that to be a portion of the class moving forward. Like picking a verse, translating this verse, and being able to read, pronunciate the words that are in that verse. A lot of times it's like we might know, like we might see the letters or the characters and say, well, yeah, I know that's I by God. You might be able to see and know that, but until you actually put it to use in formulating words and understanding those, I'm not really going to say that a person can read and write Hebrew. Like, you probably can thumb through it, you can translate some things. Why don't we get comfortable to the point where we can actually read complete sentences? Let's read our book in its original language. Let's get to that level. That's my goal. That's what I'm striving for. And looking at it, just so you know, sometimes what we read from might look like something like this. So one of the things that you notice in that, like when there are certain words, like the first word up there is I ah. So see that and notice it doesn't have any of these. How we have that under that. I personally, just by looking at it, think it's this. The my and I is connected. Why? Lakia. Catch me on. Ah. Before how I read it or wrote it, kind of looked like a za. But I feel is this. I feel the ma and the I is connected, but you'll get a script sometimes where it doesn't say or doesn't let you know if a particular character is pronounced singularly or connected with the word next to it. So sometimes after write it down, just look the word up. Go to your your app, whether it's your Blue Letter Bible. Hazayab, Officer Hazayab put me on this app. Purple Bible app. I think it's by Igor. And this one, you can actually see Strong's word, and they have it right next to it. So, and it'll pull it right up in the interlinear, and it'll let you know the biblical usage, the translation, etc. of it. That's clear. So just for your schooling, another tool that you can use. But yeah, Wayashimai. So what I want to do is get used to every class, everybody that's here, everybody who's participating, if online. I want you to get a verse. And since we already at Genesis 31, start at Genesis 31, and I'll read it. That's one of the things that I want to get better at, reading the Hebrew in its language. So you got Salakia. Yeah, Wayashimai, Ath, Dabarim, Banya, Laban, La'amar, Laqua, Laquaka, Salakia, Laquaka, Ya'ai, Oba, Ath, Cal, Ashar, Laban Yanawa. Okay, Laban Yanawa. Wayashamar, no, Wayamar. Ash. Why? Ash. So, this simple word, why ma'ashra, is throwing me off. So what I'm going to do is do what I told you guys to do. Put it into action. I'm going to go to Genesis chapter 31. And that was verse 1. Go to the interlinear. And oh yeah, that was Laban's name. So yeah, it is. Wama Ashar going on. You have why. Oh, Laban Wa Asha Ath Cal Hakab Akabad Hazaha. Salakia, my lord. What's this word right? Hey, of course, always ask the men above you if you don't know. That word. Yep. We just gonna say Hakabad, but then I'm gonna just double check, come back and clarify that. But one of the things that you see that I forgot to put up with those endings. So you have words like this, ha, That's the Ka in the ancient Hebrew. But sometimes you will see something that looks like this. Something that looks like that. This and this is the same thing. I don't think it has to be at the end of a word or in the middle of the word that changes it. Sometimes I believe it's just scripted. But because I said sometimes and I believe, that's a question that I have to ask. And I'll find that out for you guys next week. So, yep, that was a verse. That was Genesis 31, starting at verse 1. So, of course, what I want to do, I'm going to show you again. Take a screen. Got it. Then go and look up the words. All right, so before I get out of here, and with that being said, Israel, I want to do a shameless promotion. Semi-shameless promotion. There's no shame to it. It's semi-shameless promotion. Y'all couldn't hear me talking my S, but we got garments on deck. You see it? You got to hit up Officer Qadash. He's back in his mode. Y'all see him. It's nothing. Like, this is him warming up. This is not even at him at his peak. Like, this is like early Jordan, Carolina Jordan. This is not even Jordan after he made it through the Pistons yet. All right, y'all better stop playing. Passover coming up. Y'all better get him early. Hit up Qadash. Look him up online. That's Qadash the Bar. All right, with that being said, I'm going to give a courtesy salute to the men of Israel. Amajim Shabbat. Amajim Barak. Yahabashim Yahweh Barakatah. A Barakathum, Salakia. And of course, that thumb is plural. The thumb is plural. That makes it plural more than one. And sis, if you could. I know, right? We prepared for this. Oh, I got you. We got you. Yo. You in there. Yo. That's perfect. I ain't even gonna put the camera on it. I might. Okay, you don't want. Are you ready? Yahweh, Shamar, Alatah, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. Enough said. All right, Israel. See you next week. We're going to finish up on these nations, get into another verse. I'm actually going to see if somebody will be brave enough to come up here and read a verse with me next week. You know what I mean? We going to see. I do get my baby girl next week, so I might have her read a verse. So all y'all, if y'all scared, if there's any individual out here that's scared of reading the Hebrew, don't be scared. If my daughter can do it, y'all can do it. If I can do it, y'all can do it. All right, with that being said, Israel, Shalom, Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai Barakathum.